Hello, everyone, and welcome to my script just totally went blank on me. Hello. The script document window actually just went
Co-creation station with Collin and Stephanie. We are so
completely
happy
blank.
you're here.
I'm gonna have to do it from memory. It's just not opening. All right. Welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this magical, mysterious,
Mystical
mystical, confounding,
thing we call life.
but sometimes confounding, but always
Spectacular. I don't know.
life. Something I forgot to do in season 6, episode 2 at the beginning is mention that we do mention Abraham and Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks quite often on this podcast. If you're not familiar with them, this is your first time hearing about them, you can search on YouTube or Google, put in Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks. They also have a website, which is abraham-hicks.com. Find out more information there. Each week. Oh, my name's Collin. Yeah, I'm really thrown off.
No,
Um,
you're doing great.
my
You really
name
are.
is Collin, and I am coming to you from beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach and I help people shift away from negative thinking. And I am in San Diego, California.
And we want to thank you all for listening and watching each week here on the Co-Creation Station podcast. We always start our discussion from a different jumping off point. And for
Or
this
sometimes we don't. Last week we didn't, you said.
jumping off point is 18 episodes ago. Um, but we all need to hear this stuff over and over again.
Over and over and over again. Yes, me too. Yep.
I had the jumping off point for this week though, which was and I know one of our listeners, Teresa, is I would say a soft Yankees fan and a diehard New York Mets fan, and really doesn't like the Boston Red Sox. And I'm just gonna have to apologize to her and thank her for listening to the podcast. But Red Sox Nation is gonna talk a little bit here. And then we got some LA and San Diego people who were like, don't care about baseball at all. So in 2004, how should I tell this story? As of 2004, in what is normally considered the four major professional sports in the United States, at least, American football, basketball, hockey, and baseball. As far as I can remember, there was only one team that had ever been down 3-0 in a best of 7 game playoff series. So, in other words, there's most of those 4 leagues have playoffs where at some point you have to play the other team at least 4 times, but possibly up to 7, because it's the first team to win 4 games total wins that playoff series, and they get to move on to the next level or whatever. And so as of 2004, only one team had ever done it. I think it's the Detroit Red Wings in the National Hockey League, if I remember correctly.
Oh, okay. Hockey.
But no baseball team had ever done it. No basketball team had ever done it. No American football team. Well, football's got a different structure, but anyway. So in 2004, the Boston Red Sox were down 3-0 in the American League Championship Series, which was the level before the World Series, to the New York Yankees, their arch nemesis, longtime enemies. And game 3 was particularly bad. I forget the score, but it was something like 18-6 or something like that. It was a total blowout. And as diehard Red Sox fans, my sister and I, as well as other members of my family, were very depressed at first. And you would think that the Red Sox also would be depressed and would carry like a very negative point of attraction into game 4. Because literally everyone in the media, sportscasters and newspapers and TV stations are basically saying it can't be done. This has never been done by a baseball team in all of history. Baseball's over 100 years old at that point. So basically the belief that's getting spread around, or the idea that's getting spread around, is this is impossible. This cannot be done. And my sister and I had our own kind of mini experience, because Kelly, just coincidentally, we didn't schedule it this way at all for this reason, but she was coming to visit me in New York City, where I was living at the time. And so we actually went she came down on the day that uh, the night that they lost, basically the third game, like that 18-6 or whatever it was. And then she stayed over at my apartment. And then we went into Manhattan the next day, which I think was the night, that night would be game four, which everybody thought the Red Sox were going to lose and be out of it. But anyway, what I just showed Stephanie before we started this episode is a clip from a documentary film made by ESPN called 4 Days in October, which is about this whole phenomenon. Because what the Red Sox did was they came back and became the first professional baseball team to win 4 in a row after losing the first 3 in a playoff series, and only the second pro sports team in American history to do it after the Red Wings. So they won game 4, 5, 6, 7, and they won the series. And that had never been done before in the entire history of baseball. And what I showed you, Stephanie, was the beginning of that documentary film from ESPN, 4 Days in October, because Kevin Millar, who I think was either the second baseman or the shortstop for the Red Sox, there was all this negative energy in the media, in the stands at Fenway Park where they're playing, probably amongst the players.
Yeah, how could you not, right?
And Kevin Millar went to reporters, went to fans in the stand, went to all of the Red Sox players that were on the field warming up before the game, and had a fantastic sense of humor about everything that happened. Number one, so he was not sad or unhappy or depressed or anything. He was cracking jokes, smiling, laughing, tossing the ball around in this very kind of jubilant way. You can see it in the film. But he was also going up to all of these people and saying this series of joke lines of, man, the Yankees better put us away tonight. They better win tonight. They better sweep us. They better win 4 in a row. Because if they lose tonight, oh my goodness, we have, the second best pitcher in the league is pitching for us tomorrow. The best pitcher in the league is pitching the night after that, and then we're tied at 3-3, and then it's game 7, And so he's like, I'm just saying, don't let the Red Sox win tonight. I know it's never been done before in history. Don't let us win tonight. And it's kind of the thing that's really, I mean, first of all, I just think that's even if they had lost, that's just a lovely thing to do, because it lightened everybody's mood. It at the very least, it created the sense of possibility that I think a lot of times when we think about things like that in our own lives, we're like, oh, I can never do that. That's impossible. It's like we don't realize how much that thought or belief, if it's something we've been thinking for a long time and it's kind of, engraved in stone in our minds, like that is the number one problem. Like the problem isn't the task or the difficulty or the challenge level. It's actually the fact that we start
or the outcome.
Or the outcome. It's that we start out believing that it's not going to happen.
We already shot ourselves in the foot before.
Self-fulfilling. Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, but I mean, I love that, because I know there's cameras everywhere these days, but I just love that they captured Kevin Millar going around to the reporters and the people and the fans in the crowd and the other players, and they have the audio and the video of him, like there's just these little supposedly private little chats with people, like joking around with them, like, don't let us win tonight though. Don't let us win tonight. We got Pedro Martinez pitching tomorrow night, Kurt Schilling the night after that, game 7, the anybody game. And
it was really, what was it, 2.5 minute clip?
Yeah, it's just
it was great. I could watch that over and over again. I was like, oh my God, his energy and his playfulness. And, Abraham talks about going really general and not specific, because if we go too specific, then like right now I was like thinking, oh, well, I'm going to know. I don't know, I was thinking about Nibbles and like something with him, like what could I say that could be like, playful and general and not real specific. And so, but that being very general in a very playful way, there was no resistance. And it opened up this playful like possibility. And it just kind of like, just like even doing with my hands, just opened up.
Yeah.
What happens when we open up?
In that clip, you can see it change the physical energy of the reporter, the fans in the stand, and the other players. Like you can see that, like, and it's not like the players on the field are like completely depressed. I mean, they're there to play the sport that they dreamed about playing as a kid. So I mean, they're not dejected, but you can see they kind of have like, all right, let's do this. And then when he starts joking with them, their energy changes, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah. The reporter starts out, Dan Shaughnessy from the Boston Globe, starts out like interviewing Kevin Millar in this kind of, legitimately at that point critical way of like,
And doubtful.
why didn't you guys show up and play better in the first three games and everything? And Millar just completely turns him around.
Yeah.
He starts out asking these questions like, "What's wrong with you guys?" And then when he starts the whole like, "Oh, don't let us win tonight,"
Yeah, yeah.
really? Like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. It
like,
took it took a couple of times of him saying it to the reporter
yeah,
before the reporter kind of like, bounced off the reporter. And
yeah,
then the more he said, because Kevin, or he was relentless. Like he just
oh
kept
yeah,
repeating it.
yeah,
It was beautiful to witness.
yeah,
And then yeah, by the time they were finished communicating, like the sportscaster was like, oh, like
yeah. Because the funny thing is, I mean, there's no way we can prove like what happens psychologically for everybody involved. And the thing that's tough about like sporting events, I think Abraham's talked about this a few times. Like she said something once, like if you really want to be successful, like I would just recommend not being a professional athlete because in that zone there has to be one winner and one loser, and there's so many attraction elements because you have all the players, all the coaches, all the people in the business office, all the fans of both teams. Like there's too much like
moving
if you're
parts.
like I'm gonna go out, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
Your point of attraction is super important, but it's one of like a million. So you're not like you have a lot more. Like if you want to go have a hike today in the mountains and have a wonderful time and see beautiful views, you have way more control over that with your point of
Yeah.
attraction than you do as to like whether your team wins this game. But that having been said, I think the thing about the other aspect of what Kevin Millar was doing is in his little joke, there's the seed of hope, optimism, and possibility on the Red Sox side, but he's also planting the seeds of fear in case anybody from the Yankees is listening, because he's saying like we have the second best pitcher in the league pitching tomorrow night. Like you're in trouble. And we have the best pitcher in the league pitching the night after that. And then it's tied 3-3 and it's a coin flip.
And he also says you better put us out tonight because
Yeah,
if you don't,
yeah.
so there's like the pressure's on of like,
Because I think everybody has some experience in their life where they can relate to that. Where like sometimes our brains are so not in helping us because we'll get close to something we want to accomplish or finish or do, and then we'll start to have this thought of like, oh my god, but what if I can't finish?
don't,
What if it
yeah.
doesn't work out in the
What if
very
it
end?
doesn't happen?
And
Yeah,
then we
yeah,
start thinking that thought all over, and then it
yeah,
happens. Like we
yeah, yeah,
fumble it or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, it's almost like he was trying to put that. As far as I know, he only talked to Red Sox people, which is good.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, I mean, it's possible and probable, I would say, that like when the Yankees lost, especially like Game 5, you start thinking as a Yankees fan, like, oh no, like
Or even game 4,
what if? Yeah,
because they were hoping
yeah.
game 4 would be it, right? And so now they're starting to like, uh-oh. We didn't just knock them out and we're done.
The other thing that's always been important to me since that happened, from a law of attraction standpoint, is that a lot of people in New England, there was kind of this mind virus that started many, many decades ago. I don't remember when the first thing it was, but there were several, without going through the whole history, there were several times in history where the Red Sox were very close to winning the World Series and then lost it kind of at the end in a very weird way. The biggest example being 1986, where, just for our listener, Teresa, her Mets beat the Red Sox. Um, and like it was just it was like a Greek tragedy level thing where the Red Sox were ahead. They were up 3-2 at that point, so they just had to win Game 6, and they would have won the whole World Series. They were ahead. There were 2 outs. It was the bottom of the ninth, that kind of thing, and there was just one bloop hit after another, and the whole thing unraveled, and they lost that game, and then the Mets won Game 7 and all that. And it started that, but that really started this thing throughout the whole Red Sox fandom in the where the whole area where Kelly and I grew up, like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, like that whole region, the people that were Red Sox fans just started believing this thing of like the Red Sox are cursed. The Red Sox can't win it.
Gosh.
You know, every year we're gonna have
Yeah.
something bad happen, and then we had more bad things happen. Like
Right.
it
Yeah.
literally happened that way.
Momentum was built, and law of attraction's always responding, and
If we had
more
any,
momentum.
if we had any Chicago Cubs fans listening to this podcast, they would relate to this also because it's the same
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Had all these like tragedies, and then it was like a thing in Chicago among Cubs fans of like we're never like this belief that just kept getting more and more ingrained in everybody. Like, oh yeah, the Cubs will never win it. It's like this weird thing where like what they want most in the world is for the Cubs to win it or the Red Sox to win it.
Yeah.
And it's like they have this belief of like we can never win it. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's the
Well, and I
biggest
think we
example.
don't. Go ahead.
Sorry, the thing that Wayne Dyer says about like our approach was always, well, if they can win, then I'll believe that they can.
Yeah.
But the law of attraction works the other way. You've got to believe it.
Believe it before you see it.
Cause it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Believe it, and that's because we've been taught to be so physically focused that we believe in appearances before we believe in energy. And the vortex or the vibrational reality of something, because everything's vibrational energy first before it comes into matter. And yet we, with our eyes, we believe it because we see it. Yet we are all energy. It's all energy. And it's interesting because, you know, we can walk into a room, we can see something, and most of our communication is so much greater non-physically than physically. It's all more energy than not. And yet we believe what our eyes show us more than this energetic feeling it.
I feel like, I mean, I struggle with this as much as anyone. I'm not somebody who's perfectly fixed it, but particularly in American culture, I don't know about how it is in other countries, other cultures, but like there's kind of this obsession with the odds. What are the odds? Like anytime, you know, at various points in my life, I've been an actor, I've been a musician, and like it's just very normal or common when I you know, when I was trying to be an actor or whatever, you know, people are like, oh, I'm an actor. I act on stage and small films and whatever occasionally, and people would be like, oh, isn't that a really hard business to be successful in? I mean, like the odds are just really against you. And I'm like, why do we start out from that perspective? You know,
instead of like, really, why do you want to be an actor? Like, what is it about? Like,
it's like,
or something else, right?
Exactly. But literally they're talking about math. Like they're talking about like, of all the people, you know, it's this weird like sort of fake concept almost where it's like, okay, to find out the odds of you being successful as an actor, number one, you have to come up with a universal definition of what success is, which doesn't exist. Like you can have an amazing life being an actor and never be in a feature film with Tom Cruise. You know, I know tons of people have been acting their whole life. They've never been they've never been opposite Tom Cruise, but they've had a massively enjoyable life.
Nice.
So number one, you have to come up with some sort of weird artificial definition of success that won't work for everyone. And then you have to go, okay, well, out of all of the people that are interested in acting, good luck finding out what that number is. How many of them achieve this artificial level of success? Like that's the statistic, you know, it's like 1% or it's 0.01% or whatever. And then like that's, if you are interested in acting, that's your chance of becoming super successful. It's like that just doesn't, it's one of those things that I feel like people believe it and pass it around as an idea. When you take it out in the open and look at it, it doesn't make any sense. Like it makes no
There's a lot of that going around though. There's a lot of that going around. We do that a lot. You know, I want to go back to Kevin. How do you say his last name?
Millar. Millar.
Yeah. You know, he made it fun. He was very general, not specific. And he went against the opinion of most.
Yeah. But not
in a
clashy fighting them way.
In a very fun way. He made it really light and playful.
We're down 3-0. We made it hard. But don't
Yeah. I just love the way he did that.
Yeah. I think
So
that
good.
honestly, it's one of the greatest educational pieces about how to do the art of allowing to me, because it is. It's the reason it's a great example is because the situation's so extreme. It's one of the biggest professional sports in America. It's the series going into the World Series. It's Red Sox Yankees, which is one of the biggest rivalries in all professional sports, and they're down 3-0, and they got destroyed the night before. Like the Yankees destroyed them,
That
legit.
was 18-6, did you say?
Exactly what the score was. It was
It was
something.
high, big.
It was an outsized, like it was just like
Yeah.
nobody saw it coming, and
Yeah.
so against all of that, he figured out how to like wiggle in there,
It
and
would be fun to talk to him and get his perspective. Like,
yeah,
where did that come from? Did he have a coach? Like,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
what
Where did he?
was,
Yeah, how did the
yeah,
idea pop into his head? Yeah,
yeah, that would, yeah, but I highly recommend people search it and watch it because
yeah.
it's phenomenal. I want to watch it again. I think we'll watch it again before we end our friend time
The
today.
full film too. They go a little bit longer before that because there's a really great thing of this sequence of TV people and sportscasters and showing you headlines about the game the night.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Can get
Like
really negative.
the new music of like,
Yeah.
the Red Sox
It's-
have embarrassed themselves.
yeah.
It's going to be another year of blah blah blah,
Uh,
and then to have him on the field before the game starting to do that, it's like, oh wait,
I love
like
it.
all
I
this
love
like
it. I
gloom and
love it.
he's like,
Yeah. Oh, so jovial, just like very playful. I love it. Love it.
we can literally use that. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like, um, I love Abraham to death. I've learned so much from her. I've learned a lot from the film The Secret. But that's an example of a human being actually in real time using the art of allowing. It's like, here's how you
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
and it's not always easy to find that. Like sometimes, like he did, and I think something that he probably didn't think about it, need to think about it, but like as I analyze it afterwards, I'm like, he did go directly at the subject. Now, sometimes that doesn't work very well with the art of allowing. Sometimes it's better if you're worried about whether or not you're going to get this job. Sometimes it's better to go to the beach and focus
Yeah. Yeah.
on. But he knew everyone in that, in that park was pretty much thinking negative thoughts about the Red Sox. So he
Yeah.
can't go like, oh, let's just talk about
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
he had to talk about the thing that
Yeah.
everybody's got on their mind.
Yeah.
But he found a way to talk about it in a way that turned the frown upside down.
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
so,
Yes.
so cool. Thank you for indulging me in that. I've always wanted
Yay. No, it was beautiful. I
to
loved it. I
so
hope everyone else enjoyed it or got something out of it.
yeah. And Teresa, we'll do a episode about the Mets for you at some point.
She already has it in her vortex.
I mean, it's funny because as a Red Sox fan, I would never think of this, but the Mets actually must have done something like that in 1986 because it was the same sort of thing. Everybody was saying there was no way the Mets could win. I'm not going to talk about the Mets that much, but anyway, thank you so much. We really appreciate you watching and listening today.
Yay.
Please remember at this point, we are posting a brand new episode for you every Monday morning. Thank you for doing everything you do to support the podcast. We tremendously appreciate all our social
Thank
media
you.
links and our email address are down the doodly doo and the YouTube video version down below. We wish you a happy, abundant week, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Co-Creation Station.
Bye.
Bye.